The classroom buzzed with laughter, gossip, and the sound of shuffling papers. Outside, the autumn wind rattled the windows, but inside, Emily sat quietly at her desk, her blonde hair falling like a curtain to shield her from the world. She wasn't invisible because she wanted to be. Life had simply taught her that sometimes, being unnoticed was safer. She kept her eyes on her notebook, scribbling little sketches of flowers in the margins. She knew the whispers that followed her in the hallways. Mute girl, teacher's pet, boring Emily. But she never fought back. She believed people's cruelty would eventually burn out if she didn't feed it. She was wrong. That morning, she felt the hairs on the back of her neck rise. The two loudest boys in class, Dylan and Marcus, were watching her from the back row, smirking. They were known for making people cry. Today, they had found their next target. The bell rang for first period. Mrs. Harper was running late. Emily sat stiffly, pretending to write. Dylan slid into the seat behind her, Marcus leaning over from the side. "Hey, quiet girl," Dylan whispered, his tone mocking. "You ever talk? Or do you just sit there like some robot?" Emily didn't respond. "Maybe we should give her something to talk about," Marcus said with a grin. Before she could react, she felt a sudden tug, sharp and humiliating. Her shirt tore down the back seam. The sound of fabric ripping echoing in the room. Gasps filled the air. Someone laughed. Someone else pulled out a phone. Emily's cheeks burned crimson as she froze in place, her hands clutching the front of her shirt. In that moment, her world shrank into one sharp truth. This wasn't harmless teasing. This was humiliation, and it was deliberate. Something inside her snapped. Emily stood slowly, her hands still gripping her shirt. The room went silent for a second, confused by the calm in her movements. Then, with one swift motion, she kicked her desk so hard it screeched across the floor and slammed against the wall. The sound was deafening. The laughter stopped. Her voice, steady but low, cut through the thick air. "Touch me again, and I promise you won't be able to walk out of here." Her eyes locked on Dylan's, unblinking. There was no tremble in her tone. No fear. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. The sheer certainty in her words made the air in the room heavier. Dylan leaned back, suddenly unsure. Marcus looked down at his desk, pretending to search for something in his bag. Emily walked toward the front of the room, her back straight, her steps measured. Mrs. Harper entered just as Emily reached her desk. She froze, her gaze moving from the desk against the wall to Emily's torn shirt. "What happened here?" Mrs. Harper demanded. No one spoke. Emily looked at the teacher, her voice calm. "They ripped my shirt." The teacher's eyes narrowed. Dylan, Marcus, office. Now, they tried to mutter excuses, but Mrs. Harper's glare silenced them. She escorted them out, leaving the rest of the class in stunned silence. When the door closed, Emily sat back down, adjusting her torn shirt as best she could. A girl named Sarah, who usually stayed out of drama, leaned over and whispered, "That was incredible." Emily didn't feel incredible. Her heart was still pounding, her hands still shaking under the desk. But for the first time, she didn't feel powerless. Later that day, the principal called her in to talk. They assured her that Dylan and Marcus would face disciplinary action. But what stayed with Emily wasn't the punishment. It was the way her classmates looked at her afterward. Not with pity. Not with ridicule. But with a kind of respect they'd never shown before. Emily realized something powerful that day. Being quiet didn't mean she had to be silent when it mattered. Standing up for herself didn't have to mean yelling or throwing punches. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is show people you're not afraid to push back, even if your voice shakes. Weeks later, no one dared to call her mute girl again. And though Emily still liked to sit quietly, sketching flowers in her notebook, Everyone in that class knew. Quiet didn't mean weak.